Welcome back to another episode of KTM Summer Grill. My name is Simon Chapman, Supercars reporter for speedcafe.com, and today I'm joined by my editor, Connor O'Brien, and today we're going to have a look at all things supercars, particularly 2022, and who's going to be the biggest challenger for Shane van Gisbergen. Obviously, the Kiwi was dominant in 2021, scoring 14 wins for Red Bull Ampol Racing, but there are a handful of guys waiting in the wings who I reckon could be his biggest challenger. So, Connor, who is going to bring the fight to Shane van Gisbergen in 2022?
Good question, Simon. Look, it's hard to know. There's a lot of guys on a really, I think, similar level pegging. Shane is still the favourite. I think he's probably the best driver, and Triple Eight are going to go through some change though, so it'll be interesting to see how quickly they hit the ground running. Are they affected at all? But yeah, look, I mean, you got Anton, De Pasquale, those guys in year two, like at Sydney Motorsport Park, he showed what he's capable of. That he got the Scott McLaughlin comparison just a few times. But you'd expect in year two, those guys are going to have it more down pat, and they desperately need less DNFs, which I assume they'll be pretty keen on working on over the off season. He'd have to be up there. I still think Cameron Waters is, as good as they come. Like that race win at Townsville where he held off Shane. Like no one does that to Shane, but he got his elbows out. He was really good. Tickford, a bit like Walkinshaw with Chaz as well. They just need to kind of, they're so close. They just need to kind of get a bit more consistency and just be championship's all about minimising or damage limitation, and they've got to do probably a better job at their poor tracks. I would say those three are the biggest contenders, and then Will Davison obviously is a very, very consistent guy, so you'll see him somewhere up there as well.
Yeah, I think you make a good point with Anton. Looking at his results this 2021 season just gone, it's been pretty good. You take out those retirements and those little niggly issues, and it's actually a pretty solid year. I think you look at where he finished in the championship, and it's not necessarily indicative of his ability or the year he really had. So for mine, I think Anton's got to be one of those guys who's seriously up there. We've seen in qualifying, he's got supreme pace. I can't remember the stat exactly, but that period from SMP1 to SMP4,
22 or 32, I'm pretty sure it was.
That's just unheard of.
Yeah, in terms of sessions, practice, quality races, it probably could have been even more.
Yeah.
They were dominant. Again, similar to some of those other teams. Yeah, just trying to make sure they're on their game at every track, But they were certainly once they kind of broke through at Tailem Bend, they were just, always up there.
Yeah, for sure. I think DJR as a team will be disappointed that they didn't retain their spot in the team's championship at the top of the table. They've got two drivers who are certainly capable of it. And I think 2022 is really a year for them as a combined effort to maybe capitalise on some of that instability at Triple Eight. Obviously they've got a new engineering line up there. They've got a new driver. Roland Dane stepping down from the team principal role. So, as far as opportunities go, this is, I think, the one for DJR to sort of capitalise on. Yeah,
and Walkinshaw and Andretti United are thinking the exact same thing. They're going to be, it's wide open there. WAU as well, I don't think you can discount with, they brought Nick Percat on board. They're going to be super strong on both sides. Yeah, DJR though, it was always going to be, it always does take a little bit of a rebuild. They had Fabian and Scott there for 4 years together, Fabian for a year before that as well. It was always going to take a little bit of time to work some things out. But those guys, again, if you took out the first 3 rounds, they became genuine front runners from there on in. So I expect nothing less. They should be competing for the championship. If they're not, I'm sure they'd be extremely disappointed.
Yep. Definitely. You touch on a good point there with Walkinshaw and Andretti United. They've made a big step up in the team's championship for 2022. They're going to put themselves in a better position for qualifying and for pit lane order. Chaz Mostert doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, he will always sort of downplay his chances for the championship. And I think, that's maybe an element of him trying to keep cool and not really sort of, I guess, raise the expectations too high. But I think when you get a lineup that includes Chaz Mostert and Nick Percat, you have to say that is arguably one of the strongest lineups on the grid next year.
I think it is. I think it is out and out the strongest lineup. I think Nick's going to really, surprise some people. I think he is an A-grade driver. He is going to, you're going to have to cut him some slack, I think, for the first few rounds because, again, Chaz has been in that car for 2 years. He knows the ins and outs of it. Nick's making the change from Brad Jones Racing, where he's been for 5 years, I think, to Walkinshaw United. It's going to take him a couple of rounds, I expect. But he, make no mistake, he is part of that, that top brigade. And I think once he gets on his feet, those guys are going to have 2 cars right up there, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I think the feeling for Nick and within Walkinshaw United is a sense of being unleashed. I feel like, he did a lot of good things at Brad Jones Racing, but was maybe just sort of held back a little bit. It was clear that he was the number 1 driver there, but I think, at Brad Jones, we weren't seeing, what he was fully capable of. So I'm really fascinated to see how Nick goes.
Yeah, and I think Nick would say himself too that there's no excuses now. Brad's, a really popular midfield team that on its day can fight for wins and podiums, but when you go to a top team like Walkinshaw United has re-established itself as, there's no excuses. So, apart from there, that settling in period. But once you're settled in, you've got to be performing.
I think the telling thing for me was there were periods at SMP where Nick was beating Chaz. And I think that could be really interesting when, they put in equal machinery and to see how they go. But, Nick has traditionally gone well at SMP.
Yeah, and I think that's a better track for Brad Jones Racing than it is for Walkinshaw United, to be honest. But I think, I really do think Nick will push Chaz along. That run of events at SMP really highlighted the teams that do go well there and the teams that don't go well there.
Yep, definitely. One that's interesting for me is Erebus Motorsport. Now, I don't know necessarily whether they're going to be regular contenders, throughout the year, but we saw glimpses at SMP what that team is capable of. And in years past, when they had Anton De Pasquale and David Reynolds, they were basically the only guys who were really matching Scott McLaughlin outside of Triple Eight. So I'm really fascinated to see how Will Brown and Brody Kostecki go in their second year, because year 2 and year 3 is really when you want to start sort of, I guess, stamping your authority. But they've already done that. They've already proven themselves.
Well, yeah, it's I don't think anyone could have honestly thought that they were going to go quite that well. They were spectacular. Will, I think in particular, I don't think I'm alone in saying that I probably would have tipped Brody to come out on top of that in sort of teammate battle, but Will was super impressive. And then Brody finished the year on a real high with the Bathurst 1000 podium. The thing, I guess, not against them, but they don't have the element of surprise anymore. Everyone is going to be looking at them and expecting them to go, you were 8th and 9th in the championship this year, 6 podiums all up, 1 race win in there. There's going to be a lot of expectation there. So there's going to be a bit of that to handle as well. But, they've got a lot of really clever guys there. As far as I'm aware, George Commons, Tom Moore, they're all back again. Barry Ryan is, I think he's learnt a lot over the last, few years. I think he would say that himself. So can they be a title contender? It'd be a surprise to be quite that far, but certainly I think they would have to be kind of thinking that they can go better again than what they did in a pretty spectacular 2021. Yeah,
I think they're probably your cat amongst the pigeons sort of guys. I think we saw that on several occasions this year where, there were just sessions where all of a sudden Brody Kostecki or Will Brown's name was up sort of near the top of the pylon there. So I'm really fascinated to see how those two go, being, the next sort of generation of supercar stars. And they've both got very differing personalities, so it'll be interesting to see how that's handled next year as well. So I guess that sort of brings us to Brock Feeney, who is probably the ultimate unknown. We've
had a bit of a debate about this too, right? like it's extremely hard to come in as a rookie. You're saying top 5. You think he can get in the championship?
Well, I think he could.
Oh, you're backing out of it now.
I think Brock could get a top 5 in the championship. I think he's got all the equipment to enable him to do that. You know, he's got an extremely fast teammate who he'll be able to look at data and see where he's going right and where he's going wrong. I anticipate that he probably won't have a super fast start, but you know, for me, the benchmark is watching what Will and Brody have done, right?
Yeah, that's true. And look, I really like Brock. I think he's a very good driver. It would just be unprecedented for a rookie to be top 5 in the championship. I can't see it happening. McLaughlin, like at GRM, was 10th, I think, in 2013. You know, guys like Chaz and, you know, all these guys that have come through, it's hard doing it in their first year. Like, I mean, J-Dub, everyone knows, after 1 year got sacked, you know, back in 2003. Yeah. It's tough. Anton was 20th in his first year for Erebus. So, like, it's really tough to be top 5 in the championship. You've got to be up there all the time. And if Brock can do that, then, you know, knock me over, you know, like, he is going to be a champion for sure. Like, that would be stunning. So, by no means do I think that he's not good enough to do that. I just think history says that it doesn't happen.
I think the big but, though, to counter all that is that all those guys who we know now are, you know, the really strong guys, you know, the Mosterts, the Wincups, you know, the Van Gisbergens and stuff, none of them started at the top, you know.
Well, Jamie's first year was 2006 at Triple Eight, and that was his 3rd year in the sport. He still was only 10th. And I know Triple Eight was still emerging at that point, but I think that's a pretty good comparison too, is that, and then the next year he was almost, he competed for the championship. But but having said that, that's 15 years ago now. Yeah. So
times change.
Yeah, look, just fascinating. Cameron Waters, I'm going to just add in there too. First year full-time for Tickford, 2016. I think he ended up in that sort of 16th kind of region. Yep. And then, you know, he's really worked his way forward and is an out-and-out title contender now. But yeah, it's just tough. And but the good thing for Brock is that he's going to have the ultimate guy next to him to be able to compare his data and share notes with and go, all right, well, you know, this is what Shane's doing. Yeah, Shane's the benchmark. So, fascinating.
Yeah, it could go so many different ways. I'm confident that Brock will do really well. I think, you know, he's got all the right ingredients there. You know, there's still some sort of questions around, you know, instability in the team. You know, obviously, you know, Martin Short's going to be his engineer, so he's got continuity there. Obviously, Andrew Edwards is going to be Shane van Gisbergen's new engineer. J-Dub's going into the team principal role. Roland Dayton's stepping back, but we've seen over the last, you know, year and a half or so because of COVID that, you know, Roland hasn't been the front man of the team. So, you know, his departure maybe won't have as big an effect as what some people expect. My rationale is that Brock is coming into the champion team alongside the champion driver in a championship winning car. So he's got basically everything he needs to do essentially what Lewis Hamilton did in 2007. You know, he's going into the best team with all the equipment. So
that's a fair comparison.
There is no reason why Brock shouldn't be doing well.
Yeah, look, that's a reasonable, pretty reasonable argument. I mean, if his career turns out like Lewis Hamilton, I think Brock will be pretty happy. But I mean, look, there are some very clever people behind the scenes at Triple Eight too, I should say. Like, even though, a lot is changing on the surface, you still got Mark Dutton as team manager. You got Jeremy Moore as technical director, I think his title is. Jess Dane is a key element behind the scenes there, very, very clever. So they still have a lot going for them. By no means are they going to drop off drop out of the top 10 or anything like that. They're still going to be up there. But anyway, fascinating. I can't wait. Anyone else you reckon that can kind of spring a surprise?
I think that's largely it. There might be one or two drivers who maybe, snag a win here or there. I feel like Andre Heimgartner is going to be the guy that becomes the Nick Percat at BJR logically. So he's going to have all the focus on him, and he's going to have the best car within that organisation. Can he get up to speed with the Holdens ZB Commodore quickly? All those sorts of factors. It's in a new environment. He's going to be based on the Gold Coast. Teams in Albury. That might change things up. I feel like he might be able to do something good for that team. But I think, by and large, I think, yeah, you're going to see lots of interest from Walkinshaw and Drury United and probably Tickford with Cameron Waters. So, yeah. It's a fascinating 2022 season, the last year of the Gen 2 cars as well, before we switch over to Gen 3 in 2023. So, yeah, last year for the Holden Commodore as we know it. So an end of an era for supercars in many ways. So I'm sure Triple Eight guys in any of those teams that are running that Holden Commodore will be keen to finish off strong. So
we've had a few cracks at the Holden farewell, haven't we?
Oh, we've had a few. Yeah.
But I think this is actually it. But I think the cars are both pretty level and parity now. Like there's no question about that. Whereas people have said one way or another in the past, but it's all set up to be may the best man win.
I guess one thing that we haven't really touched on is, does Van Gisbergen just continue and do what he did in 2021 all over again in 2022?
It's hard to see why he wouldn't, but it's a funny game, motorsport. It has big ups and downs, but you'd think that Shane has asserted his authority, his dominance. I would think that Shane should come out, and I can't see any reason why he wouldn't be up the front. He's still the man to beat, I think.
Yeah. All right, later on the line, who's going to win next year?
Look, if you're betting on it, you have to go for Shane. I like to go for an outsider, but if it's not Shane, look, let's take Shane out of the equation because he is the clear favourite. You'd say Shane as well, right?
Oh, Shane,
so,
100%.
Okay, so if Shane doesn't win, who wins?
I really want to pick Chaz Mossett. I'm not sure whether, publicly at least, he's hungry enough. I think the momentum is certainly on his side. However, I think this will be Anton's year. There's been too many comparisons to Scott McLaughlin for it to not hold weight. And he's done all the right things, barring the first round in 2021 where he crashed on his own. By and large, 2021 was a pretty okay season for him where he was unlucky a lot of the time. So I think if they get everything right and he has a good relationship with Will throughout the year and they just iron out those gremlins, I think they're the team that will take it to Triple Eight. So I'm going to say Anton. All right. Who are you going for?
I was hoping to get out of that. Look, I would love to say Waters and Tickford can do it, but I'm not sure enough has changed there to put them that next step forward. They're very close, but I still think that the issues they had this year, they're going to have next year. Chaz and Walkinshaw, I think it comes down to Chaz and Anton as the next one in the mix. Chaz and Walkinshaw, that relationship's getting stronger and stronger. But I tend to agree that, if I had to pick one, it probably is Anton who has the pace to do it. It just has to all come together now. So, fairly long-winded answer there. But I think it's Shane's to lose, but there's certainly no shortage of quality contenders that are there ready to go.
Definitely. Well, who do you think is going to win the 2022 Repco Supercars Championship? You can leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Visit speedcafe.com, where there'll no doubt be a Percat poll at some point in the new year to cast your vote as well. That concludes everything for the 2021/2022 edition of KTM Summer Grill. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. My name is Simon Chapman. This is Connor O'Brien, and we're signing off. Cheers. As part of this year's KTM Summer Grill, each week KTM is giving away the perfect summer beach pack, which includes an umbrella, cap, gym bag, and key holder. To enter the draw, head to speedcafe.com or hit the link in the description below.